I was sitting there journaling about this very topic, and I'm just thinking, feeling, we'll just say downloading, and this little tiny spider comes down about a foot in front of my face. It's a little tiny black spider. I'm like, oh, hey, little guy. I kind of took my pen and put him on the ground, and I'm journaling, and again, I'm journaling about duality, which is what? It's black and white. Not 3 minutes later, a white spider, the same size and in the exact same place, about a foot from my face, comes down in front of me, and I was just like, is this really happening? To me, it's a real parallel to the hero's journey, which he created in 1949 in his writing there. But it's a parallel to the journey through the major arcana of the tarot. And Carl Jung talks about these different archetypal shifts through the tarot. And so to me, there seemed like there was enough evidence, even like if Carl Jung's talking about it too, I thought, okay, so I'm not alone in this and seeing something.
I am curious, like, what is it that brought you think, specifically to tarot and like using that as a connection piece with both spiritual enlightenment and then wanting to connect that with spontaneous cancer remission?
Well, I think when I started just letting go of my entire evangelical Christian religious background, that was just something that interested me, but it was not this deep interest. It was kind of like my former wife, she was more interested in it, so we started listening to a podcast together on it. And I was like, oh, this is really cool, and it was a way for me to connect with her too, and we'd have fun conversations. So I'd keep listening to it, but it was just like, it was cool, but it's not a super, super deep interest until, okay, so what happened was I was in Peru. I went down there for 2 months as part of this whole journey, and I went and did an ayahuasca journey, and came back, and about a few days later, I was literally just sitting in this little tiny studio in Lima, Peru, and I just heard, like, you need to study the tarot. I mean, like, it was just a knowing, like, okay, this is something I've got to do. It came out of nowhere, like so many other synchronicities in this path have come.
Yeah.
And that's funny enough, that podcast that I said that my former wife and we listened to together, she put out an episode literally the day before on the 3 lines of the tarot. And so that's when I was like, well, let me just listen to this, because I mean, it was exactly what it was that I felt like I needed to hear at that moment. Then I really dove in, because I was like, oh my gosh, like this has been my journey. Like, I mean, I'm following this journey, and so Joseph Campbell, to me, it's a real parallel to the hero's journey, which he created in 1949 in his writing there. But it's a parallel to the journey through the major arcana of the tarot. And Carl Jung talks about these different archetypal shifts through the tarot. And so to me, there seemed like there was enough evidence, even like if Carl Jung's talking about it too, I thought, okay, so I'm not alone in this and seeing something, and so I was just kind of trying to put all the pieces together. And again, I was seeking hardcore. You're right. Like, there wasn't anything that I was going to say no to. If it came to me, I was going to consume it. Just be like, okay, take what I need, and then I'm going to toss what doesn't work. But the Tarot Major Arcana, that was something that continued to resonate and still resonates. I use it with clients who are open to it. And it's really neat for them, because they're like, okay, I know where I'm at in the journey, and I know what's next, and I know what I need to be working on to be able to step into that next step. And so to me, it's nice to have that kind of a map, because when you're starting to dive into the phase 3 of healing your body, it can be very overwhelming. Right? It's like walking into a library and looking for one book when there's no way. I can't even remember what they're called, the Dewey
Oh,
Decimal System or whatever those are
yeah,
called.
the like tracking system within the library.
Yeah,
Yeah, I forgot about the
yeah,
Dewey Decimal System.
yeah. But yeah, so it gave me a map, and since I already saw my own journey following that path, I mean, I could tell you specifics and synchronicities and stories, and it's just like, it's pretty wild.
Yeah. Is there
My
one
experience.
one like particular story or synchronicity that comes to mind?
Okay, so one in particular, this was actually kind of a fun one. So I was actually in Italy, and I was just journaling, like overlooking this lake, and I was sitting on a bench underneath this tree. And as I was studying the tarot for my research paper, I was also studying for myself at the same time and trying to understand it. Like I was reading the books, but then I was using my experience to understand it in a different way.
Hmm.
And the reason why I say that is because when, um, so I said there's 3 lines to the tarot. When you get to the third line, if I'm being honest, I don't think anybody has actually captured that line fully.
Hmm.
Like to truly understand it and write about it. Like I've read books on it, and it's like, it's almost like you can see that they've never actually experienced it.
Hmm.
Once you've experienced it, you're like, okay, they don't understand it fully yet. So I felt like that was also something I was researching to be able to, again, give that gift to the world as well. Um, so the first card in the third line is the devil card.
Hmm.
Okay, and again, growing up in a Catholic and then evangelical Christian church, the devil is like if you pulled the devil card in a tarot reading, like, and you didn't know anything about it, you'd be like, oh crap,
That's not good.
this can't be good, right?
Yeah.
And so, but for me, when I was researching it, to me that was the invitation to let go of duality and see that all duality is actually just spectrums of one. And so it was really this letting go of all of those black and white thinking and extremes and seeing, oh my God, like even fear and love are just 2 ends of one spectrum. Oh my gosh, that's one. And not and so to me it was this whole shift of reality that happened as a result of, and it was me stepping more into oneness even more so. But while I was sitting there, this is the honest God truth, like I was sitting there journaling about this very topic, and I'm just, thinking, feeling, we'll just say downloading, and this little tiny spider comes down about a foot in front of my face. It's a little tiny black spider. I'm like, oh, hey, little guy, and I kind of took my pen and put him on the ground, and I'm journaling, and again, I'm journaling about duality, which is what? It's black and white, right?
Hmm.
Not 3 minutes later, a white spider, the same size and in the exact same place, about a foot from my face,
Wow.
comes down in front of me. And I was just like, is this really happening? And this is just one little synchronicity, but it's just like, if that would have happened at any other time in the journey, it would have been like, oh, that's neat. But like to happen when I am literally trying to release all of duality, it was pretty profound to me. That was a
Yeah.
pretty spiritual experience.
Yeah. What do you make of synchronicities like that? I know that Carl Jung has obviously written a lot about synchronicities, and I think even Joseph Campbell in some of his writing kind of talks about, maybe he doesn't use the same word, but kind of references these kind of things. And I'm curious about, like, what's your own take on what synchronicity is? Is it just a random occurrence? Is it something we're making meaning out of? Is it a wink from the universe, as kind of Jim Carrey says? Like, what is that for you?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So yeah, Carl Jung, he just says it's something that happens that means something to you, right? Like it's just some kind of, like to somebody else it might not mean anything, but to you it's really important. Now I'm going to take it way further than that. To me, again, when you've experienced oneness with everything, okay, to really experience that fully, you realize there's no separation, right? And that's what quantum physics also, talks about too. Everything is totally entangled. So, like for example, the air, all the space we see and we call air, there's actually not space. There's something filling every part of this. And when you've experienced that oneness, you recognize that you don't end where your skin ends. Like, if you're one with everything, like you essentially are everything and everything is you and vice versa. It's kind of like the Beatles, right? like, you know. So to me, from my perspective, And this kind of brings in talk of what we call manifestation and different things like that. Manifestation to me is just, how do I communicate to myself from within my body to the version of me that's not in my body?
Mm.
And the version of me outside of this physical body is then giving me what it is, maybe not always what I want, but
Mm.
with synchronicities, oftentimes it's what I need. Sometimes it's what I want, and that's what with manifestation we hope for. But even with manifestation, there is a sense of letting go. It's trusting that whatever comes to me is going to be for my best. Life is happening for me, for my growth, for my evolution. And so to me, that's what a synchronicity is. It's actually you, the me outside of me, giving me that next little breadcrumb that I need to level up
Mm.
to whatever it might be, you know?
To keep going down that path,
Exactly.
is that sign that you're following the right step.
Exactly.